What can we do? What are the steps of the pathways to really get into a space where it's not controlling us anymore?
Well, I think that Bruce has explained it so beautifully in terms of the alternative to the subconscious being the conscious. And this is the reason that regardless of what path of meditation you go into, regardless of what stream of spirituality you go into, there are some really fundamental aspects, which are mindfulness and presence and awareness. And so, for example, if I said, okay, on the count of 3, we're all gonna get really angry. You've got, I'm gonna count to 3, and in 30 seconds, not acting it out, but inside, not the acting of anger, but you've got 30 seconds to actually feel full of rage. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. So what most of us notice is it's really hard. And the reason that it's really hard, even though every one of us has something to be angry at, may even be something from today or yesterday. Of course, we have things from decades ago that we're still hanging on to, but we even have recent things. And yet, interestingly, we almost cannot become consciously angry. And the reason is that rage, that fury, I can become consciously disapproving. I can become consciously aware that what someone or a government or an organization is doing is wrong. That's different than rage. That's different than the stuff that leads us to say things or do things that later on we go, oh my God, what did I do? That's the stuff that ends up ruining our lives, our relationships, our health. It's the stuff that leads so many of us into alcohol, drugs, chocolate cake after chocolate cake, whatever our drug of choice may be, because there's this experience inside and we don't know what to do with it. But that experience comes only when we are not conscious. And that's why you cannot consciously become full of rage. And so, Chris, I think the simplest solution is mindfulness. And if you look at the meditative traditions of the world, you'll realize the emphasis that they place on it in terms of just little things like, take 30 minutes, eat this raisin. I mean, anybody who's been to a meditation retreat or workshop, one of the things they do is they'll give you a grape, a raisin, a tiny little thing that most of us swallow without even thinking about it. And they'll say, spend the next half an hour eating this raisin, eating the grape, or doing walking meditation, where you literally make it pretty much from one end of the stage to the other end of the stage in the full 90 minutes of the class. Why? Because by bringing our mindfulness to the present moment, we give ourselves the possibility of happiness. You cannot be happy tomorrow. This is actually really sad when we realize it, because so many of us are forsaking today for happiness tomorrow. I'll just deal with this again today so that tomorrow I can be happy. But the truth is, you can actually not be happy tomorrow. You also can't be happy yesterday. Your only possibility for happiness is right here in this moment. It's the only opportunity we have right here and right now. And so if I'm not here, because my mind is elsewhere, as Pujya Swamiji says, in Paris without a visa. If I'm elsewhere, then I'm being run by my subconscious, which means I have no chance for happiness. Because as Bruce explained so beautifully, the subconscious is just this programming that leads us all to later wonder, who was that? I mean, like, I really love you. Why did I say all those things? How did I possibly act in that way? I'm a yogi. Right? I mean, who was that who took over my body and shouted or cried or drank or smoked or did whatever I did that's not in line with how I consciously identify? Well, that's this subconscious programming. And so if I can just keep bringing it back to the present moment with my breath, with a mantra, whatever I choose to use, that's all it is. It's just about bringing it back. It's not some great esoteric, super complex, you've got to do, a really, really long course and a beginning course and advanced course and get this degree or that degree. It's just being here in this moment. And yeah, the mind has a habit to wander, and we bring it back. And then it wanders, and we bring it back. And for every moment that we're able to have it here is a moment when we are accepting that invitation of the universe to be in joy. It's a moment in which we are opening ourselves to the truth of who we are, the source of who we are, which is that source of joy.
When we look at our lives, and I tell you that 95% of your life is coming from the subconscious program, this is not, it's new on a scientific awareness of how this mechanism works. But what's interesting is for 400 years, the knowledge that you could program somebody and control their lives has been available. It was the Jesuits who 400 years ago said, give me a child until it's 7 and I will show you the man. Most people didn't understand what they were saying, and what it is the first 7 years, which we now know biologically and scientifically is the program period. They knew that 400 years ago, and they said, if I can get that program in the first 7 years, that program will determine the life of that individual. I'll show you the man because they will represent the program. Now, the really important part is, since every one of us has been programmed, the big issue is, so what were those programs? Because if I ask you, so what program did you get when you were 1 year old? I have no idea. I wasn't really there. In fact, you were actually being programmed even before you were born, the last trimester of pregnancy. You were being programmed. And I go, well, this is really a critical issue, because the first thing I'm telling you is your life is 95% programmed, and most of that is really disempowering. And of course, the first thing I would think is, then what are those programs so I could deal with them? So I want to make something very easy for you so you don't have to go and review your whole life and try to figure out what the programs are. Save you a lot of time. The fact is this: you are playing the program 95% of the day, meaning your life is a printout of your program. So you don't have to go back in time to review. That would just actually irritate the system more, because every time you review those things that unsettled you when you were younger, it just reinforces that same pain that you had earlier. So going back and finding out who did what to who is more than just a waste of time. It actually will set you back. As a matter of fact, there's an old phrase that people have heard, and it says, don't kill the messenger over the message. What that means is this: don't go back and blame all the people that did this and that and that and that. That's irrelevant. Who they are is irrelevant. What's relevant is, what program did you walk away with? Not who did the event, but what you learned. So now I said, okay, I've been programmed and I have no idea what the program is. I said, then look at your life and here's the simple resolution. Everything in your life that you like and it comes to you is because you have a program to support that. That's wonderful. That means that's great. It's going to come to you because that program is bringing it to you. But in contrast, this is the one that's important. Anything you work hard to accomplish, anything you struggle over to make it happen, anything you put a lot of effort in, I want this, I'm going to work like crazy, I'm going to get this. My first question is, why are you working so hard? And the answer is very simple. Anything you're struggling to try to accomplish, whether it's health or love, relationships, whatever it is, if you're struggling, it represents a simple fact. Your subconscious programming doesn't support that conclusion. So the fact is, what are my programs? Look at your struggle. And wherever you're struggling, the struggle is not because the universe won't provide for you. The struggle is an internal job. The struggle is you're trying to overcome previous programming that prevents you to go to that destination. So the wonderful part about this understanding is you don't have to review your life. You can look right now. At this one moment, just look in your head and say, what are the things that I keep trying to get and they seem to be elusive? I can't get them. They're always out of reach. I say, the universe is not holding back. It's your own invisible subconscious behavior. And once you understand where the issues are and you start to really focus on the point that it's not the universe that's providing the trouble, it's myself, you have the first inclination, the first idea, the first understanding of how to change your life, because now you know exactly what issue is confronting you. And again, if you understand it's an internal issue, then you, and this is the most important part, otherwise this would be the worst seminar you ever heard. The most important part is this: you can change the programming. You can rewrite your subconscious programs. And why is that relevant? If you took the wishes and desires of the conscious mind and used that as a program to put the beliefs into the subconscious mind, it's the most exciting and liberating thing you can ever do in your life. You know why? Because once it's in the subconscious program, 95% of the day, without you even thinking about it, your mind will take you to that direction. And that is your freedom. Thank you.